Welcome to the top 10 breaking news. So without further ado, let's get started. Our top story tonight, a dangerous escalation in the South China Sea. Over the past several days, we've witnessed a significant increase in maritime confrontations between Chinese Coast Guard vessels and Philippine supply ships near the contested Second Thomas Shoal. The latest incident involved Chinese vessels using high-pressure water cannons, resulting in injuries to Filipino naval personnel and substantial damage to one of their supply boats. This is not just a territorial dispute, it's a flashpoint with the potential for much wider conflict, drawing in international powers, including the United States, which has a mutual defense treaty with the Philippines. The rhetoric from both Beijing and Manila has sharpened considerably. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has vowed that his country will not be cowed into submission, while Beijing accuses the Philippines of deliberately provoking the incident and infringing on what it claims is its sovereign territory. Diplomatic channels are strained, and international bodies like the United Nations are calling for restraint and adherence to international law, specifically the 1982 UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. The world is watching this narrow stretch of water, holding its breath, as the risk of a miscalculation grows with each passing day. We turn now to the ongoing efforts to secure a lasting ceasefire in the conflict between Israel and Hamas. Hopes for a breakthrough were tempered this week as intensive negotiations, mediated by Egypt, Qatar, and the United States, appeared to stall. The core sticking points remain the release of hostages held by Hamas in exchange for Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails, and the fundamental disagreement over the terms of a permanent end to hostilities. Hamas is demanding a complete withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza, a condition that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has publicly and repeatedly rejected. Meanwhile, the humanitarian situation on the ground in Gaza grows more catastrophic by the hour. International aid organizations are issuing dire warnings of widespread famine and the collapse of the healthcare system. The delivery of aid remains perilous and insufficient, caught in the crossfire of military operations and logistical chaos. While diplomats work behind closed doors in Cairo and Doha, millions of civilians are trapped in a living nightmare, their fate hanging on the outcome of talks that seem to be teetering on the brink of collapse. The pressure from the international community is immense, but a path forward remains elusive. In Ukraine, the war has entered a new and desperate phase, centered on the battle for the skies. This week, Russia unleashed one of its most intense barrages of missile and drone attacks since the start of the full-scale invasion, targeting critical energy infrastructure across the country. Cities like Kyiv, Kharkiv, and Lviv were plunged into darkness as power stations and electrical substations were hit, leaving millions without electricity and heat. The attacks underscore a stark reality. Ukraine is running critically low on the air defense munitions needed to protect its cities and its people. President Volodymyr Zelensky has issued urgent, almost daily pleas to his Western allies, stating that his forces need at least 7 more Patriot air defense systems to create a protective shield. The pleas come as a multi-billion-dollar aid package from the United States remains stalled in Congress, creating a dangerous void on the battlefield. European partners are scrambling to fill the gap, but the production and delivery of these sophisticated systems take time that Ukraine simply does not have. For ordinary Ukrainians, every air raid siren is now a terrifying reminder of their vulnerability. On the economic front, new data from major global economies is stoking renewed fears of persistent inflation. In the United States, a hotter-than-expected consumer price index report sent shockwaves through the markets, kind of diminishing hopes for imminent interest rate cuts by the Federal Reserve. The report showed that core inflation, which strips out volatile food and energy prices, remains stubbornly high, driven mainly by the costs of housing and services. This really challenges the narrative that the worst of post-pandemic inflation is behind us, and honestly complicates the political landscape for the incumbent administration. The story is pretty similar in Europe, where the European Central Bank is also signaling a more cautious wait-and-see approach. While headline inflation has fallen, underlying price pressures continue to be a significant concern for policymakers. For households and businesses around the world, this means that the era of higher borrowing costs is likely to extend, squeezing budgets, slowing investment, and raising the specter of a potential economic slowdown. The delicate balancing act for central banks, taming inflation without triggering a recession, has just become significantly more difficult. The humanitarian crisis in Haiti has reached a terrifying new low. This week, heavily armed gangs, which now control an estimated 80% of the capital, Port-au-Prince, have further consolidated their power by launching coordinated attacks on the country's main seaport and international airport. These strategic assaults have effectively cut the capital off from the outside world, strangling the flow of food, fuel, and medical supplies. The national police are outgunned and overwhelmed, and the government, already in a state of collapse following the Prime Minister's resignation, is virtually powerless. International efforts to deploy a multinational security force led by Kenya have been fraught with delays and legal challenges, leaving the Haitian people to fend for themselves. Hospitals have been looted, schools are closed, and citizens are trapped in their homes, living in constant fear of violence. The United Nations is warning of a complete societal breakdown, with millions facing acute hunger. This is not just a political crisis, it's a state of anarchy where the rule of law has been replaced by the rule of the gun, and the international community is struggling to find a viable response. Shifting gears to the world of technology, there's a major development in the governance of artificial intelligence. The European Union has formally adopted its landmark AI Act, which is actually the world's first comprehensive legal framework for regulating artificial intelligence. This sweeping legislation categorizes AI applications based on their potential risk to society, imposing strict requirements on high-risk systems, such as those used in critical infrastructure, law enforcement, and medical devices, while banning others deemed to pose an unacceptable risk like social scoring systems. The Act's passage is being hailed by proponents as a crucial step in ensuring that AI develops in a way that is safe, transparent, and respects fundamental human rights. However, it also raises significant questions for tech companies and innovators worldwide. The EU's approach, known as the Brussels effect, often sets a global standard, meaning companies outside the EU will likely need to comply with these new rules if they want to access the massive European market. The debate is now intensifying. Will this regulation foster trust and responsible innovation, or will it stifle progress and put Europe at a competitive disadvantage? A sobering report from the world of climate science this week. The World Meteorological Organization confirmed that global ocean temperatures reached their highest level on record in the past year. Scientists are, expressing profound alarm at the sheer scale and speed of the warming, which has shattered previous records by a significant margin. This isn't just an abstract data point, it has severe, real-world consequences. Warmer oceans fuel more powerful and destructive hurricanes and typhoons, disrupt marine ecosystems, and lead to catastrophic coral bleaching events like the one currently unfolding in the Great Barrier Reef. Furthermore, as the oceans absorb more heat from the atmosphere, they expand, contributing directly to sea level rise and threatening coastal communities worldwide. The phenomenon is also disrupting global weather patterns, leading to more extreme droughts in some regions and unprecedented rainfall in others. This report serves as, honestly, one of the starkest warnings yet that the climate crisis is not a distant threat, but an immediate and accelerating reality, demanding a far more urgent and robust global response than we have seen to date. Our attention now turns to West Africa, a region grappling with significant political instability. Following a recent wave of military coups in neighboring countries, Senegal has just concluded a tense but ultimately peaceful presidential election, seen as a crucial test for democracy in the region. The election, which was delayed by the outgoing president, saw a decisive victory for opposition candidate Bassirou Diomaye Faye, who was released from prison just days before the vote. His victory represents a powerful public rejection of the political establishment. The peaceful transfer of power in Senegal is being celebrated as a beacon of hope, but the underlying challenges remain immense. The new government faces enormous pressure to address youth unemployment, economic hardship, and concerns over foreign influence, particularly from former colonial power France. Meanwhile, the military juntas in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger continue to consolidate their power, forming a new alliance and severing ties with regional democratic blocs. This has created a deep ideological and political schism, fragmenting a region that is vital for global security and economic stability. In a sign of the shifting dynamics of the 21st century space race, the Indian Space Research Organization, or ISRO, announced ambitious new plans for its lunar exploration program. Building on the historic success of its Chandrayaan-3 mission, which made India the first nation to land a craft near the moon's south pole, ISRO is now fast-tracking its Gaganyaan program, which aims to send Indian astronauts into orbit, as well as a subsequent mission to land an Indian on the moon by the year 2040. This isn't just about planting a flag, it's a strategic move with scientific and geopolitical significance. The lunar South Pole is believed to contain vast reserves of water ice, a critical resource that could be used for drinking water, to produce oxygen, and to create rocket fuel for future deep space missions to Mars and beyond. India's low-cost, high-success approach is challenging the traditional dominance of space agencies like NASA and Roscosmos, heralding a new, more multipolar era of space exploration, where nations like India are becoming major players. Finally, we turn to a pivotal headline from the Arab world with truly global significance. Saudi Arabia this week unveiled the next phase of its ambitious Vision 2030 economic diversification plan. The kingdom announced a massive new investment fund, totaling hundreds of billions of dollars, aimed at accelerating the growth of non-oil sectors like tourism, entertainment, technology, and logistics. This includes plans for several new giga-projects, even more audacious than the futuristic city of Neom, designed to transform the country's economic landscape and reduce its historic dependence on crude oil exports. The move is being closely watched by global markets and foreign governments. It represents a profound social and economic transformation, driven by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, that is reshaping not only Saudi Arabia, but the entire Middle East. The success or failure of this monumental gamble will have far-reaching consequences, impacting everything from global energy prices and investment flows to the balance of power in the region. It is a bold, high-stakes effort to build a post-oil future, and it signals a clear message that the kingdom intends to be a central player on the world stage for decades to come, with or without oil. And that brings us to the end of our global roundup. From the tense waters of the South China Sea to the ambitious economic plans unfolding in the Arabian desert, the threads of our shared global story are constantly being woven. These events, though they may seem distant, have a way of touching all of our lives, influencing our economies, our security, and our future. Understanding them is the first step toward navigating the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. It's about seeing the world clearly, with context, and with perspective. I want to thank you for spending this time with me tonight, for choosing to be informed, and for engaging with these important stories. The world doesn't stand still, and neither will we. The news cycle is relentless, and our commitment is to be here to help you make sense of it all, to provide the facts, and to keep them honest. It's a responsibility we take very seriously, and we are grateful that you trust us to do it. If you found this briefing valuable, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. By doing so, you'll ensure you never miss an update as we continue to track these developments and bring you the most crucial global news as it happens. Thank you again for watching. Stay safe and stay informed.